In this video, I'm going to talk about what does it mean to be spiritually awakened. And I'm going to share with you the 7 qualities of spiritually awakened people that I've discovered over the last several years. Now, before I get into the content, I have to do a disclaimer because who am I to tell you what it means to be spiritually awakened? The truth is that it's subjective, that it means different things to different people. And so what I'm going to share with you is simply my perspective that I've learned as someone who went from being very much spiritually asleep to being nascently and really just discovering what it is to be spiritually awakened. So take what I say with a grain of salt, take what works for you, and discard what doesn't. Let's go. So my personal definition of spiritually awakened means someone who is connected to something greater than themselves. It means to live a life guided by divine connection and divine inspiration. It means trusting that there's a larger order in play, that there's something bigger than us that is helping us, that is loving us, that has created us. And it's somebody who recognizes that that deeper and higher order in the universe is benevolent and loving. I believe that someone who is spiritually awakened truly sees things as happening for the best for a reason, not from a place of fate or destiny, but simply that everything is an opportunity for more growth, more expansion, more development. I believe someone who's spiritually awakened lives their life with integrity and does not expect themselves to be perfect and are definitely not perfect, but always endeavors to create greater and greater congruence and alignment with their own values and principles. Before I share the 7 things that I've observed in someone who is spiritually awakened, I do want to invite you to click the like button, subscribe to my channel, maybe make a comment below and let me know what you think about all this. So the first quality that I've witnessed in people who are spiritually awakened, and one of the qualities that I endeavor to develop more even in myself, is self-awareness. It's being able to recognize how we are showing up in the world. It's being tapped into our emotions and connected to that observer part of us that's not necessarily completely hooked into the drama of the world, but who maintains that neutral observer ability to observe what's happening from a more expanded, connected place. So someone who's self-aware can recognize, wow, I'm acting this way, I'm feeling ashamed, and so I lashed out at this person. Someone who is self-aware can look at their life and say, wow, why am I doing this? I'm doing it because I feel less than, or I feel like I'm not enough, and so I need to maybe love myself more. So a self-aware person is really connected to how they're showing up, what they're feeling, and what they need in every given moment. Secondly, someone who is spiritually awakened, in my opinion, is someone who's undergone or undergoing the process of healing from old wounds and resentments. We spend a big chunk of the early part of our lives building up resentments, blame, shame. We blame our parents. We blame our high school classmates. We blame that person who hit us with the car and gave us whiplash, right? There are a lot of different ways that we live the early part of our lives with blame and outward resentment. Someone who's spiritually awakened, in my opinion, has taken on the process of turning the mirror, looking into the mirror and turning the focus back on themselves and taking responsibility and accountability. It's someone who has decided that they want to heal and forgive and let go of all of those wounds, because those wounds are what keep triggering us in the present moment usually. And someone who's undergone this healing work starts to recognize, wow, every time I'm presented with this discomfort, with this anger, with this shame, with this resentment, it's an opportunity to turn the mirror, to look at myself in the mirror and to take responsibility and to claim my power again. In my opinion, a spiritually awakened person is someone that has their heart open, someone who is available for connection and for intimacy, someone who can empathize, someone who can be in the presence of somebody else's fear, anger, shame, sadness, and hold space and not have to change it or fix it. Someone who's comfortable with a wide range of emotions without having to change it or make it better. Another quality that's similar is that someone who's spiritually awakened is neutral, is not attached to specific outcomes, is not so attached to making specific things happen that they manipulate situations. A spiritually aware person or awake person, I believe, has let go of outcomes and understands the beauty and the power of dancing in the mystery of the unknown. Someone who is not spiritually awake, really, like I was, tries to change things and control situations and maneuver and manipulate to create outcomes, and ends up being, your emotional state can be very subject to what's going on in the world around you. So a spiritually awake person is someone who is detached from those outcomes, or at least recognizes, back to that self-aware piece, when they're hooked in, when they're attached to a specific outcome, and knows how to do the work to get neutral again and let it go. I believe that a quality that spiritually awake people have is that they are undefended. It's kind of similar to having their heart open, but it's having the heart open and also showing up, like knowing that they might get hurt and knowing that they're not going to preclude that by closing down and creating defenses. We know, you've been around people that are defended, people who are touchy, people who are sensitive, people who everything bothers them. And you might be one of those people. I certainly was, and I still struggle with this. But as we awaken, we start to let those guards down. We start to open up and understand that life is about all of the emotions. And that means sometimes we are going to feel pain. Sometimes we are going to suffer, and that's okay. We don't have to live our lives in a state of perpetual defense to prevent that from happening. Another quality that I recognize in spiritually awake people is that of radical responsibility. Spiritually awake people understand, in my opinion, that they might not be to blame for something that's happened, but they are responsible for how they deal with it going forward. There are so many things that just happen, and we didn't cause them, we didn't create them, we didn't ask for them, but they happen. And yes, we could spend the rest of our lives blaming someone else for what happened, or we could take radical responsibility and say, I choose this. This is mine. How am I going to approach this going forward? I know that sounds crazy. That's why I call it radical responsibility. So for the person who gets cancer, definitely not their fault that they got it. And they can say, all right, this is mine. I choose it. This is what has come to me, and I will now own it, and I will be responsible and accountable for how I show up in the face of it. Finally, I believe that spiritually awake people, and this is something I endeavor to, I cannot say that I have mastered this yet, have the perspective that not that everything will be okay. That's a pretty common mantra you hear people say, like, oh, it's gonna all be okay. You'll see, it works out best in the end. I think part of being spiritually awake is to say, everything is okay right now. Everything is already okay. There is nothing actually wrong here in the expanded sense of the word. Now, I know it might not feel okay, there might be suffering, but from that more expanded observer, neutral, undefended perspective, a person can say, all right, everything is already okay. I know that this is happening for my growth, for my expansion, for my development. And I would also say that this is probably one of the hardest pieces, and hence why I've been working on this one so much and for so long, is to be able to be in the moment where it doesn't feel okay and to remember it is okay. It's already okay. I hope you found this video inspiring and helpful. And if you did, and you want to apply some of these principles to your own life, and especially in your business, let's connect. You can book a time with me to discover if and how I can support you on my calendar at superstardiscoverycall.com.